At Five Star Bank, community is at the heart of what we do. Every day we strive to have thoughtful solutions for our customers and help our communities prosper. Honest dialogue about the issues affecting the region is vitally important to that prosperity. We are proud to be part of the conversation and hope you'll join in.
Since 2004, the Dean of Sacramento State's Business School, Dr. Sanjay Varshney, has presided over an expansion of the school's offerings, including a more international focus in preparing our region's business leaders to compete in a globalized marketplace. Dr. Varshney has been known for his dedication to continuously elevating Sac State's offerings and his willingness to take tough positions on issues. After 10 years at the helm, he is stepping down as dean. Dr. Varshney joins us today to share his thoughts about his tenure, his observations about the region, and his predictions for the future. This is his exit interview. Dr. Varshney, why now?
First, thank you very much for having me on your show, Scott. Life is short. You have one life to live. And I came to the conclusion pretty quickly that after 10 years of being dean at Sacramento State, I think it's time for me to move on to other things. And I know I have a long list of things to get to before I reach a point where I can say, yes, it's too late now, or I need to be retired. So.
And what will you be doing now that you're stepping down?
So the good news about my stepping down is that my bosses, Dr. Gonzalez and the provost, are going to allow me to continue to stay engaged in community-based projects, things that I love doing, things that I enjoy. So I'm going to be serving as the director for the Center for Small Business, which serves the regional businesses and provides free consulting. I'm going to be the faculty director for the Executive MBA program, which has become the flagship program for the region. It's a signature program for Sacramento State, something that the College of Business takes great pride in. I'll be doing other community projects representing Sac State in any major relationships off campus, to include our efforts right now in Placer, where we are trying to put a new CSU campus in Placer.
Really?
Yes.
Well, tell us a little bit about that.
So we have been given 300 acres of land as part of a 2,200 acre parcel, which is currently owned by West Park. And West Park bought that piece of land out from Eli Road. This is what used to be called as Placer Ranch, and it's still called Placer Ranch. But right now efforts are underway where they're trying to develop the entire piece of land. And at the very center of that 2,200 acre parcel is our 300 acres and our efforts to put in a brand new campus for California State University. And the hope is that it will start off as a satellite campus for Sac State, but eventually it's going to be its own independent campus.
Really?
Yes, with 25,000 students at full build out.
That's about half the size of Sac State is today, isn't it?
Actually, almost the same size, because right now Sac State is about 29,000 students.
29,000,
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
Yes, a big effort underway right now.
So let's go back. Let's turn the clock back a few years.
Sure.
Tell us the difference between the campus you arrived at 2004 and the College of Business then and today in 2014.
Sure. Thank you very much for letting me reflect on my past 10 years here. I think it's my opinion that when I first arrived at Sacramento State in 2004, not just the College of Business, but the entire campus was probably the most under-respected, underappreciated asset in our region.
Really?
For what we stood for. So given the fact that Sacramento State is a large California State University campus, having graduated hundreds of thousands of students in the last 50 years, the College of Business was 60 years old when I first took it over. Our initial accreditation from AACSB, which is a premier accrediting body for business schools, came in 1963. And I went back to 1963 to actually check the list. There were only 100 schools worldwide in that very elite list of schools that maintain very high academic standards to keep the accreditation. So something went wrong, I think, for a period of 25, 30 years where we either went sideways or went down. For a college that large, because we had 6,000 students in the business school when I first came here, for a campus our size, we should have been a first-tier campus, but we were not. We were not even appreciated or respected in our own region. So fast forward 2014, I think one thing I've noticed that has been a tremendous change from my early days. Today, Sac State alums feel proud to say publicly that they went to Sac State.
As a Sac State College of Business alum, I will attest to that.
Absolutely, and you're a great example of that. We have more than 35,000 alumni from the business school alone at Sacramento State in the region, in the 6-county region, holding senior leadership positions, private sector, public sector, not-for-profit sector, entrepreneurs, owning major companies in the region. Our presence clearly is dominant, but we never got the respect, because every time I talk to the business leadership here, every time I talk to other people in the community, they would always try and talk about UC Davis, but Sac State somehow never made it in the same sentence where you would see the sign of respect. So today, certainly things have changed because we have a lot of respect in this region. We are clearly appreciated. People understand what Sac State has meant all these years for Sacramento and what it continues to do and what it will remain doing for years to come. So to me, that's a major achievement for us, that we have managed to take a sleepy third-tier campus and we have brought it this far.
So EMBA program, Center for Entrepreneurship, the Business Review, there have been a number of innovations that have happened during your tenure. Of those, or even more that I'm not speaking of, what are you most proud of?
I'm truly proud that I have been successful in serving as a major catalyst for change. I cannot take the credit for all the changes myself, because sometimes you have to have the right team, sometimes you have to be lucky, sometimes you have to be at the right place at the right time. But I've been very fortunate because I move very quickly, so I don't waste too much time on any one issue. So when I first came here, it was very apparent to me that change had to be made to how we operated. And so we quickly moved. So we launched the Executive MBA program. We completely reorganized the college, and we remain the only college in the system today where we don't have departments. We just have 3 associate deans. It's a flat organizational structure. That is a change that most deans or most presidents would not be able to make or would be afraid of making, because we have a very strong unionized environment. Our faculty are very, very strong-headed when it comes to
Why
making
does
those
it
sort of changes.
Why does it matter?
It matters because it allowed me to do the things I wanted to do. So before I took the college over, the processes were very decentralized, and it was very hard to bring everybody together onto the same page. The reorganization allowed us to bring everybody onto the same page. And we were very successful in innovation. Program innovation like ours, where we have launched multiple programs, could take 3 or 4 decades. We did all of that in a few years. So the Executive MBA program is now the signature program for the region. Our honors program, our business honors program we launched 3 years ago, is doing extremely well. We're talking about the top 1/2 or 1% of the creme de la creme that could have been anywhere in this country. They could have gone to Harvard, they could have gone to Stanford, but they chose Sacramento State.
Really?
Yes. So we are so delighted that we were able to attract them. We were able to keep them at Sacramento State. And when they actually leave after they graduate, they will be the most prized assets for the local community from an employment standpoint. Our most ambitious program we launched 2 years ago was an MBA in Singapore. And today we are one of only 5 United States universities in Singapore that continues to operate.
Why Singapore?
So for the longest time, I've had a lot of offers from a lot of partners to do business with them. So China, India, the other countries in Asia, some countries in Europe. We chose Singapore because Singapore is an English-speaking country. Extremely professional clientele. So our MBA students in Singapore actually have stronger profiles than a regional MBA profile here in Sacramento. These are folks who are holding great jobs, because Singapore is basically an expat, immigrant population. They just bring in the very best from all over that region, and they are basically being employed by some of the world's best companies. Singapore is also a very strong market for education. People in Singapore value higher education. They value the credential, the MBA. So for us, Singapore was a natural for our first effort, because you have to keep in mind, Sacramento State has never ever gone international. Forget about international. They have never even gone outside the region. So this was a major ambition for us, that we not only left the region with Sacramento State's name and brand, we actually went overseas.
That raises a very important issue, and that is that your tenure marked a real turning point for the College of Business, in that you have had a strong track record of pushing for a more internationalist bent for not only the offerings, but how the College of Business and its graduates place themselves in the global marketplace. Talk a little bit more about that.
Sure. So when I first came here, it was very evident that we were a very strong regional player. And even though we are a very strong regional player, like I said, it was kind of sad, because I still didn't see the respect from our own community for what we have done and accomplished over the years. My position is to really do well with education. You have to be open-minded. You have to be broad in your vision. You have to be global, because the capital markets got globalized years ago and decades ago. The labor market has gotten globalized in the last 20 years. So gone are the days when you were competing for a job just with somebody else in your own neighborhood or in the same city. Today, people are competing for jobs against people from any other part of the world, because the labor market has been flattened. So I think it's critical that we recognize what the rest of the world looks like, and then position our graduates and our students for a successful career, not just against their neighbors here, but against everybody else in the world.
Well, it raises an interesting issue, in that I don't think that Sac State was any different than the rest of the region. Right. And for instance, today, the new owners of the Kings have a more internationalist point of view in terms of marketing. Sure. Raj Bathal, who's part of the ownership group, was on this show several months ago, and he and his son Alex said that they're in charge of taking the marketing for the Sacramento Kings as a brand into India and that part of the world. And in 2004, if someone had said you're going to market the Kings in India, folks would have looked at you crazy. So something has definitely changed.
Yes. I think Sacramento is growing up, and Sacramento is evolving in a positive way. We have come a long way from where we used to be, a small cow town, or a city which was attractive from a residential perspective, but very challenged from a business perspective. We were just a state capital, very politically driven, and it was a government town. So a lot of people viewed Sacramento as a stodgy, bureaucratic, red tape government town.
Some argue it still is.
And in many respects, you're right, it still is. But I think we have evolved a little bit. So amazingly, Sacramento, as much as diverse we are still not as diverse as some of the other major cosmopolitan cities that we benchmark ourselves against frequently in conversations, whether it's Denver or whether it's Dallas or whether it's Salt Lake City or some other cities. So I think what's happened is slowly we're getting more diverse and we're becoming more cosmopolitan. And so you see thinking, that has basically gone out beyond where we used to be. So you're right. 10 years ago, it was not, most people would not have envisioned that, oh, by the way, we could have an Asian, an Indian from the Bay Area who would come in and actually save the Kings. But it happened. It just happened. And that's good, because that shows that Sacramento is growing up. And it is going to basically evolve in a positive way.
Let me take you back to 2006. Sure. You and I had lunch back in 2006 before the crash. And at the time, this lunch, you blew my mind, because we were talking about the business climate for the region. And you said, we're never going to get away from being a government-centric town until we fundamentally change not only what our mentality is toward entrepreneurship and business itself, but also that there was a more organized effort in trying to attract and grow business.
Yes.
And at that time, what you said was, we have too many organizations doing too many of the same things, and that seemed more concerned about their perpetuation than actually about business growth.
Right.
Now, recently, there's been the formation of a new CEO group, which is yet another economic development organization, and you still have the same organizations that you were referencing back in 2006 out here today. Revisit that topic. Give us the Dr. Varshney view of economic development and its relative success or potential for success today.
In my world, Scott, I think the key to success is execution. You got to execute, and you got to execute quickly, because the entire world is moving very quickly, and all you have to do is leave town and go to some of these other countries that are moving extremely quickly. For us, I think the biggest challenge has been that we have not held people accountable, especially the ones that are in charge of trying to grow the business sector and trying to diversify the economy here and trying to basically make the region more successful from a business perspective. In my world, I think the key ingredients for success from an economic standpoint, from economic vibrancy, you got to have high level of intellectual capital, which we do have, because between the universities that exist here, we have a very high level of intellectual capital. The second ingredient is risk taking. We need a higher risk tolerance, which means that we've got to stop thinking like the government does, where everything is risk averse, bureaucratic, red tape, too many red flags, too many questions. So we got to be entrepreneurial, like you said. We got to be willing to take a few hits. So what if you're wrong? We should try, at least, before we start backing away from things just because we think we're going to be wrong. The third one is financial capital, which is very smart, because financial capital follows high returns on investment. We never even get the financial capital because the financial capital stays away, because they look at the risk tolerance. So now let's go back to the different groups that are working very hard trying to make this region more prosperous. I think the biggest problem that I see is that there's not a coherent marketing plan. And I'm a finance guy, but I realize the importance of marketing. You have to first build a brand, and then you got to sustain the brand. If people don't even know that you exist, they will not appreciate what you bring to the table. Just like Sacramento State. We were the most underappreciated asset in the region. We never put out a single ad about our own programs. We never engaged in any marketing. We didn't have a presence in any local newspaper or in the local magazines. So marketing is the key to letting people know what you stand for. Notoriety, as I call it. We didn't have the notoriety. We still don't have the notoriety. Salt Lake City, that has fewer attributes than what Sacramento has to offer from a lifestyle perspective, has more notoriety than we do, because Salt Lake City has had the Winter Olympics, they're in national headlines, and they're national headlines in positive ways, not in negative ways.
Whose fault is that?
I think it's our fault, our business leadership's fault. It's the people at the table. We are to blame because we don't hold people in charge accountable. So
Tell me what that means.
My
we
point,
don't hold them accountable.
Okay, so by holding them accountable, what I mean is, if there are multiple organizations that are membership driven, and they come to you and they say, could you please write us a check, because we are going to basically be doing X, Y, and Z for you. If I'm writing a check, I want to see results at the end. I don't want to basically buy myself a dream. I want to buy myself an outcome. So if I'm writing a check, I want to see real results. We never go back on an annual basis to check whether or not some of these organizations actually produce what they said they're going to produce. So the point I'm making is, if you have a $100 billion plus economy, the first question I ask is, what's the marketing budget for the region? How much are we spending? Are we spending $1 million? Are we spending 10 million? And if the answer is not even $1 million, right there we have a problem, because we didn't put in place a marketing plan.
So what do you think of this new CEO group that is now another effort at addressing this issue?
So it's a good question. So I joke about this. In economic development, the number of not-for-profits that show up to do economic work is directly proportional to how economically depressed the region might be. So that shows that we are not doing well. Sacramento has too many organizations all pretending to do the same thing. The new CEO group that came up seems to be pushing for the fact that organization like SACTO, for example, has not accomplished the marketing goal for the region, that they have not really done the marketing, they have not really pushed the notoriety for the region. So on one hand, you can be a little skeptical and say, okay, well, here's another group now that just came into existence.
SACTO, by the way, would strongly say the contrary.
Sure, I understand. The one big difference that I see, though, between a CEO group and some of the other groups is the CEO group has the capability of writing checks. So they have that financial strength that some of the other groups don't, because the other groups are very dependent on membership revenue, and they are pushing very hard to make sure that their budgets stay alive, given the financial crisis that we have seen more recently. This was the worst economic crisis of our lifetime. And in a lot of ways, people remind us of what happened in the Great Depression era, because those kind of things happen once in a lifetime. So in that regard, I see some hope, because the conversation is changing, and people are asking some tough questions now.
Now, so give us your view then. You talked about the CEO group. What about the Next Economy initiative? Any thoughts on that?
So Next Economy effort seemed like the right thing to do at a time when our economy completely fell apart. Because people like myself were asking some tough questions. Because I myself, when I do the economic forecast and I'm doing the Sacramento Business Review for the region, our question was, is anybody doing anything for the region? I mean, are the leaders just basically sitting back, or are they even recognizing that if we don't do something, this region will be decimated? Because we went through 13.5% unemployment, one of the highest in the state. So I think going forward, if you look at all these different groups that were trying to do all kinds of work, my thinking is, I think the conversation has changed. We have found that the Next Economy at least forced people to recognize that we got to do something. Now, did the Next Economy effort reach far enough is something that people can debate, that whether or not they succeeded or they succeeded only 50%. My question is, okay, did we turn the tide? And I think we did, because the biggest piece of economic news for us this past couple of years was the fact that the Kings did not leave the region, from our perspective.
That's high praise coming from you, because you are a tough customer when it comes to giving compliments. What also, I go back to our lunch back in 2006, is you said because of this government mentality, even our efforts at improving business and entrepreneurship are rooted in government, and we don't recognize how government-driven we really are.
Right.
Have we made any progress on that in your estimation?
We made some progress, I think, because during the layoffs and the furloughs, during the economic crisis, the government sector became smaller in terms of our dependence on that sector continuously to basically support the region. So that is a good thing. But not much has changed, though, because in the last 3 to 5 years since the economic crisis began, we still haven't reached the point where we have had a critical mass of private sector companies coming to our region and calling Sacramento home.
What could we do? Name 1 or 2 things we could do to turn that tide.
So I think, in my opinion, there are 2 major steps to success in growing a private sector. One, we got to improve the image of Sacramento. And we have improved somewhat, like I said, with the Kings staying back in the region and those kind of things happening. But we have a long way to go. We need to work harder to improve our image, make it more business friendly, make it more prominent, make it more visible. Visibility is key. So when I'm flipping through the pages of the Wall Street Journal or some other media sources, you can always see other cities like San Antonio and Asheville, North Carolina, and some of the other cities screaming, saying, come do business here. We're open for business. We are a wonderful community. We have a great quality of life. Sacramento needs to do a lot more of that to build its image. So once the image is built, that allows the private sector folks and the entrepreneurs to see, hey, by the way, Sacramento is a possibility. Sacramento is now an option for us. Right now, we are not even on the radar for most of the people. We're not, because we don't make the national headlines compared to other cities that are usually in the running when it comes to notoriety. We don't have that notoriety. We are still known as a stodgy government town because most of the news that comes out in national media about Sacramento is not related to private sector entrepreneurial spirit or some major success stories like a Tesla coming in or any of that stuff. So we have some work to do to build our image, work with the private sector, and that's the second step in my opinion. We got to have strong people at the table.
And we're going to have to leave it there.
Okay.
Thank you very much. And that's our show. Thanks to our guests and thanks to you for watching Studio Sacramento. I'm Scott Syphax. See you next time right here on KVIE.
At Five Star Bank, community is at the heart of what we do. Every day we strive to have thoughtful solutions for our customers and help our communities prosper. Honest dialogue about the issues affecting the region is vitally important to that prosperity. We are proud to be part of the conversation and hope you'll join in.
All episodes of Studio Sacramento, along with other KVIE programs, are available to watch online at kvie.org/video.